Peace. Happy now. Now is the vibrate, of course. We're not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now. And before I get to the subject, matter of fact, this video is not going to really have a certain subject matter. This is kind of just me want to, bring up all the things that I've been experiencing lately, a few little updates, what have you. But I just thought about the peace sign situation, how a lot of people like, well, the separate peace sign means separate and the together one means together. Those symbols and things, of course, they do have, meaning, but it's also important to remember not to get too caught up into them and how say for instance the swastika is a perfect example. So now I shouldn't use the swastika because Hitler messed it up, you know what I'm saying, which he didn't, but he put a certain perception on that symbol. And so it's like, all right, if I use the swastika, is that saying I'm a Nazi? It's like, all right, universal, now you can't use the swastika. And it's like same thing with that. It's like, oh well, you got to do it like this. And bruh, if I mean peace by it, then that's what I mean by it. Same thing with the swastika. If somebody means, that peace and love is also the representation of like the four cardinal directions. But something else that I'm drawing a blank about as well, and to the Fibonacci spiral and just the embodiment of, the golden ratio, because the Fibonacci person has nothing to do with that golden ratio. But anyway, it embodies that energy. So when I'm using the swastika, that's up to you if your perception is like, oh, that's coming from Hitler. That's your perception. If I'm coming from love with it, that's what I'm doing with it. You're perceiving it as something else. That's your perception. So that's one thing important to remember moving forward. In 2018. Also, just kind of wanted to share like my psilocybin journeys lately. Been doing a little ceremonies with Mama, Big Mama Matrix, and basically these downloads I've been getting lately. Well, recently I just had a situation where I got visited by Kali Ma. So basically I got the urge to sit down in my meditative position. So I'm sitting down, and also this happened after I started some new meditative breaths that somebody just taught to me. Matter of fact, shout out to the brethren J.J. Michaels, which this technique is something that's always been taught, but I got to get a brethren shout because his vessel is the one who brought it to my attention in the moment. But like a quick, so like you breathe it in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, and then after that last, which honestly, I couldn't remember the importance of in or out, but I just kind of go intuitively with it. But on that last in or out breath, you stop, and then you pull up that anus muscle, and then pull in your stomach. But in that order, you know what I'm saying? It's not supposed to be the stomach first, and then the pull up that that anus muscle. How you pull it up. You know what I'm saying? When you're trying to stop yourself from having a bowel movement on yourself. This what's funny is these things is real, but when you're being in your ego, you won't be able to spiritually in tune. Because think about it like this: if you're a male in your ego, like, oh, I'm not picking up my anus muscle, this and that, you know what I'm saying? So you're not even getting spiritually. See, like your ego stops your spiritual growth on all levels, you know what I'm saying? That's just funny how that does that. But you again, you and then pull up on I think it's called the sphincter muscle, but pull up on the anus muscle, and then you pull the stomach in, like inward, and you'll feel that rise jerk from the bottom of your spine up to the neck area. But right after that situation, I basically envisioned Kali Ma. She came to me and chopped my head off. Y'all familiar with Kali Ma or the picture of her? She's the black goddess with the forearms, and she got one of the little heads, chopped off, and that head represents the ego. But basically, she came to me and she chopped my head off, and my head started rolling, and my vision was still being within that head rolling, and then instantly my vision shifted from, because basically it's a representation of my head, or my consciousness being with my ego for that moment, but then it shifted to my soul, and I saw my head over there, or which, not my head, but the illusion of my head on the ground. And I felt, as I was going to hug her for, taking out my ego and taking off that, basically, like, that represents too, like, your consciousness being in your ego, the head, how you operate, is through your ego. So basically, after she did that, and then my eyesight went to my soul, but I still had the rest of my body, as the ego. And I went to hug her to thank her, and she kind of like pushed me and kicked me back, and then split the rest of my physical body or ego in half. And then as it split loose, and all I could feel is just my chakras and my dark, like, just like a dark light. Like, I can't explain it, but it's like light and dark mixed together. But anyway, as I'm sitting there, she basically did something where she rubbed on each one of my chakras, like, and I just felt like this dark matter just basically pulling itself magnetically around each one of my chakras. And then when it got to the base chakra, to the root chakra, it really like created that foundation and a connection. And instantly, energy shot straight up and straight down, to connect that higher chakra, what I'm saying, to the middle, the center of the galaxy, and to the lower chakra, to the center of the earth. But basically, like, all these situations too, when you're having like from DMT trips and mushroom trips, you should take these things as face value, because you're not just making, you start to realize that your imagination is not really you just making up things. Maybe it's reality, being shown to you. And maybe, society has been telling you that, oh, well, this is reality, and that's why you're scared to embrace, those visions, But, basically what happened was Kali Ma just blessed me and, help align my chakras and add some extra energy, basically to keep my ego away from, from contaminating my DNA and my ascension process. As a matter of fact, that's why Kali Ma is she's my divine mother, and my whole embodiment of my soul is always dealing with, and which y'all know from watching my videos, what it has to do with getting rid of that ego, man, stepping out of that ego, and that's one of the things that Kali Ma deal with, is that prime audio version of yourself, like that prime audio. There's no beginning or end, but just that most, because I want to use the word like oldest piece of you, but let's just use more of that purest, like that purest form of source within you, what I'm saying? That's what her energy embodies as well, But it's just the different, little insights, and as well as the divine feminine energy moving in very strongly. Matter of fact, after that full moon, got a little rainbow moonstone, which is great for the like one of the best crystals for divine feminine energy. Like this, in combination with chrysocolla and larimar, divine feminine energy all the way, definitely. Matter of fact, and something made me, I'm gonna get back to it, but yeah, it's definitely divine feminine energy with this, but the rainbow moonstone also good for the ladies, as well as dealing with your when that friend, when the cycle is, matter of fact, 'cause as above, so below, the moon cycle, how can I say, corresponds in essence with the woman's, cycle within her body, is one and the same in essence. And that moon energy deals with that feminine energy, and that's why that's all connected. But what I was gonna say is, it's a great stone to deal with symptoms from the PMS for the ladies, So whenever that cycle is around, that moonstone to help you to deal with it. Very soothing and very how can I say, helps to keep those emotions, in a grounded place, because I know for sure, when that divine feminine energy, when those cycles come through, when certain moon cycles come through, certain energies are strong, the emotions are strong, so you gotta, just like a full moon, as above, so below. When the full moon comes around, it deals with emotions on a very strong level. So same thing for the female. So definitely want to deal with moonstone to keep those energies, in a as grounded as possible, so to speak. So working with a rainbow moonstone is good for that. And for the fellas right now, to open up the divine feminine energy. Matter of fact, with this moon being in Cancer, with that maternal energy, that divine feminine energy, fellas, for you. Matter of fact, the fellas who still trying to get rid of that ego of like, because don't get it twisted. Of course, we are the males that are the, that provider, that vibration of protection, in essence for your family, but also, it's not to the point of where you're so much of a man that you don't embody your soul energy, you know what I'm saying? Because then you're being in your ego when you putting up this fake facade of what a man should be, because you were taught, I gotta be like this. I was taught like this, so every man gotta not cry. And it's like, nah, man. Like, so for the men as well, definitely work with that rainbow moonstone, especially right now, is very important to help open up those divine feminine energies. Because if you don't realize, like, reason why a lot of brethren may be stiff with their information or with their spirituality is because they still delivering the information or dealing with their spirit from a super masculine place. So that's why you kind of feel a lack of love when they're delivering certain information, and compared to like somebody that's embodied in the divine feminine energy, you could feel it, and you could feel how, like, say for instance, even with myself, like, well, I'm still a man, like I still, hold my masculinity, but it's blended with a divine feminine energy, so I'm not all that standoffish and this and that, I'm more, artistic, and I'm less of a person dealing with logic, like just more of that artistic, going with the flow, divine feminine energy, and don't forget about malachite, which is transforming with that divine feminine energy, because the copper on the inside kind of always gave it that fiery male-like energy, but now it's going to embody more of that divine feminine energy. So that, matter of fact, from that heart space, because that divine feminine energy also has to deal with the Christ consciousness or that Venus energy, So, that heart energy, definitely. And matter of fact, in dealing with psychedelics and just right now in general, with receiving all these downloads and the earth shamanic resonance raising, you want to ground yourself, and you also want to have the grounding to bring down the information, because if your electricity just flying everywhere, you're not grounding the downloads that's coming to you. It's basically like the download just passed, kind of how we say in one ear and out the other. As above, so below, when you're not grounding yourself, when you're getting all this information, it's just like one ear and out the other. But when you're grounding yourself, the information gets to lock into that, that metallic aspect of your auric field. That's why it's good to work with the metals when you're trying to ground information and ground energy. And you see that aspect personified in hematite and pyrite, as far as they're good for mental capacities, they're good for decision making, they're good for centering yourself. There's a purpose behind that, those metals, that Saturn energy, heavy metals, focusing our energy within this physical, focused in. Like that's what our existence is focused energy in the physical, and you got universal frequencies as a physical being, because my consciousness is focused in one place in the physical, and that physical energy tied into, certain metals and things that come from the earth, so you see how all that ties in together, And also dealing with when you're dealing with psychedelics, it's always good to deal with any crystals that help you to connect with the Akashic records or just ancient energy. Matter of fact, which I'm sorry that I forgot the name of this crystal, but it's basically like from like a certain type of like tree algae in the sea, and it's like so many billions of years old, you know. And basically, like when you work with something like this, you could feel the ancient knowledge in each molecule. Like when I hold it, like I just feel like the insights of watching. Like as I hold it, I feel like I'm seeing a big eel eat another. You know what I'm saying? Like it puts you in that place, and I just in this place of where this particular being or energy was, but just in general, like bring you to that timeline as well, you know, and different timelines as well. Like petrified wood is good for that also. Like any little ancient crystal, matter of fact, shungite will bring you back to those days, you know what I'm saying, that ancient days, you know, when that carbon was first, you know, breathing life on the planet, you know. So that's also a great crystal to work with. Matter of fact, rose quartz, definitely right now, you know, embodying that maternal energy, that unconditional love vibration, because that's what Christ consciousness is unconditional love. It's like, you know, it's not, oh, I only love you because you're straight. I only love you because you're homosexual. I only love you because you're black. I only love you because you're white. No, I unconditionally love you. Now, we may disagree on our conscious vibrations, you know what I'm saying, which though that's our unique vibrational signature, which I got a video about that. Like we each have a unique vibrational signature, so even though we are one organism and one and the same, you know, we're uniquely different, but at the same time it's all about that unconditional love, you know, because it's the love unconditionally that brings this body together, you know. Like that's why the stomach could be different from the heart and be different from the intestines and different from the feet, but come together to operate, you know what I'm saying, as one organism, you know, because it's the unconditional love that holds it together, you know. And the unconditional love vibration too is how all your DNA get activated. When you think about unconditional love, is a high vibrational frequency. You know, when a high vibration is moving through the DNA, it's touching a lot of points of that DNA and basically activating a lot of your genius or genes, you know, within your DNA. But if you vibrate at a low frequency, you know, the space in between the waves, you know, there's a lot of gaps and it's not touching certain places on the DNA. So that's why, you know, you lack in certain genius or certain, you know, genes being activated because you're vibrating on the lower frequency. So that's why too, somebody vibrating on the frequency of love seem like they on some limitless pill or something like that as well, you know, because you hit, you know, you're coming from a certain genius, so it's activating all the aspects, you know. So that's another thing too that's important on that level. You know, matter of fact, I got a little chariot right here. Chariot good for it embodies that purple ray energy. Matter of fact, chariot also is good in combination with shungite. I remember my little shungite book, which I will soon get out of storage. Like in combination, man, it provides a strong psychic protection energy field, as well as amplifying your psychic abilities. And chariot uniquely, out of most information I come across, like it uniquely say that chariot gives you that power or ability to put you in the now, you know, to just put you in that moment, you know, of just, you know, intuitively being in that moment, you know, and not worrying about the past or the future, you know, just being in that now, you know. So that's a great crystal to work with on that level as well. Then also got the sunstone. Somebody just gifted this to me as well. Matter of fact, shout out Miss Jasmine on that gift. But the sunstone, which had been a while since I read up on it, but I remember it embodying a lot of solar plexus energy and that sunny disposition. You know, kind of like a citrine, but just more of dealing with that sunlight connection, and also a strong creativity and manifestation connection. I also came across sunstone and information that spoke to like manifesting abundance a lot, because matter of fact I have a video about rare like crystals that are rarely spoken of when it comes to vibrating when it comes to dealing with the vibration of abundance and prosperity, and sunstone is definitely one of them, you know. And sunstone actually, you know, what's you know, as above so below, and what's so synchronized and uncoincidental is that both labradorite, this rainbow moonstone, and this sunstone is both feldspars, Feldspar. Look that up, but they're all from that family. So see how the universe, all the connections is always there. No matter how much you try to be skeptical and try to tear down information like this, it's just some other way of the light shining through. Like where the colors are vibrations, and that shows it's true. Sounds are vibration. When you study somatics, or you study Dr. Emoto's work with the water vibrations, it's a science that you can't deny. Quantum physics of the electron jumping orbits. Or the science of that. Just like with God too. That science experiments proved the situation like with God. Like once we name God and kind of try to put a physical essence to God, it becomes some matter. Like, so say for instance, scientists discovered that electrons move on that certain little wavelength, just loosely, but the moment you put your focus and consciousness on it, then it becomes matter. Like the moment you put your focus on it. Also with experiments, the moment you add a sentient being, so like just a human being's conscious observation of of experiment is an added variable, because your consciousness could sway the way that experiment concludes itself. Like, so if you're watching a ball go through a little maze, by you watching it, you could sway the way that ball moves just by you, consciously watching it. So all these aspects come into play, and it's this truths that you cannot deny. From the placebo effect. All things that you can't deny, and these skeptics is like, oh no, the prescription pills and this and that is better. And it's like, bro, there's evidence past that. The government used remote viewers, and the government, matter of fact, the brethren young Pharaoh just spoke on how, the government using psychics to, uncover all these cold cases and stuff like this. And this, you could go look at it. The information is there. This is Aquarius age. It's no longer hidden. You could go find it. Google it. So to speak. But just so much going on. Again, I'm just kind of just going with the flow. Matter of fact, this is a part of the divine feminine energy. The way I'm doing this video, it's like no logical. Like, all right, I'm gonna talk about this. I'm gonna talk about this. I'm gonna talk about this. And which, not knocking that situation. That's all cool, But again, just the divine feminine is that curvy energy. I'm gonna go this way and I'm gonna curve back this way, curve. Just curving, going with the flow. That's the wavelength. Vibrations is not linear, it's a curve. It's not like that, like the little heart rate thing, with the points, that linear, which you could see it and it just hurt every time you come to a corner. That, and that's why a man is so aggressive, what I'm saying? Because like, matter of fact, I spoke of that, like, when you, like, the comparison to coming to an intersection where everybody always aggravated, oh, you go first, because that's nothing but male energy colliding with each other, compared to one of those little circular little, I forgot what you call it, but like when the traffic could kind of go into a little circle and flow that way, and how it just kind of smoothly go. Well, even if somebody gets a little confused and might, toot on the little horn and say, hey, whoa, watch out, it's never really hostile compared to like a full wave stop sign and things of this nature, because that male energy, that fiery energy, that's like, we all at the same point, kind of like the representation of the cross as well, and how the cross represents the sun, solar phallic energy, coming together. But it's so much in the downloads. Matter of fact, too, me and my brethren been connecting so much on the aspect of being part of the lion people from Sirius, man. We've been talking about that, and how like being in Venice right now on this boardwalk, the feeling of like all of us being like family members, and also like we are the beings that was on the front lines in a certain past life when the ego. So basically, and it's my brethren insight, and I'm just sharing it. Matter of fact, my brethren Crockett, who I be out here with on Venice, but like he was speaking like how we were that pure pure soulful being, and then these other beings came with the ego, and how we all started getting infected, and how some of us fled, but some of us stood our ground, and how a lot of us in Venice Beach right now, how we got that remnants of being on the front line from the past life, and he talk about down the carrying the skateboard like a gun, and like all those things, like to my brethren Cisco and just all the people, just like those different aspects, matter of fact, like the movie Cloud Atlas is like, remembering that battle from back in the day, but just fought on a different scale, As a matter of fact, in that movie, it showed like how the battle of like just that discrimination, the battle of discrimination throughout all the timelines, where one timeline it was a brethren like, I don't want to deal with slavery, you could have that, and then another timeline, in the future, where this android who became a prophet spoke out against the discrimination and things of this nature, like, and how it just throughout all the timelines is the same battle being fought, just on different levels. In this timeline, we're not using actual physical, guns on that level. Again, spiritual warfare. So it's just being fought by our energy, by our light, and sustaining and raising the vibration with our light. But speaking on like how being the serious beings, and two, how that all adds up to that sun energy, that Leo energy, Rastafari, Ra, the sun, Ras, the head, and how all that ties together, and being lion people, Sekhmet, that energy. And matter of fact, my brethren, he draws a lot of like cat-like people, and even the connection to cats, like cause how they use the cats, or like the lions, as that guardian gargoyle to certain houses. And even too, if you remember Men in Black, which the brethren brought up, like how the Orion's belt, what I'm saying, the constellation was around a cat's neck, what I'm saying. So in essence, that cat was like the safeguard or the guardian of that, of that energy, So that's all, personified in a lot of these things too. So too, lately you've been feeling like a connection to, and two, that's another thing too. There's not just, we are different. The reason why Earth is one of the best, one of the sought after real estates in the universe is because it allows for so many different beings to manifest in the physical. There's not too many planets, in the universe, in essence, that has that ability. And it's not just all of us who are awake, and it's not just how can I say, it's not just serious beings and lion people. There are also other beings, like I feel the aspect of like bird peoples, and even the reptilian peoples, like it's like a bunch of levels to that situation, but definitely that connection to the lion people. Matter of fact, so if any of you been having dreams about it, or certain connection, this is another thing too. You see how our soul families, we're waking up, and like certain people you're gonna be vibing with, like these, from here on out, where you're just gonna feel like, bro, this is like family. Like I never met you a day in my life, but it feel like you was my mom before, or you felt like you was my sister before, or you're about to start experiencing that a lot right now. Like matter of fact, that's what's really happening. It's like a frontline check, like like a roll call, on a soul family level, and we starting to come together, and and getting into our soul purpose, and sharing that love and spreading that love, and recognizing to help our other brethren and sisters to remember who and what they are. What I'm saying? So that's definitely what's going on right now. So too, that's why that aspect with the lion people is very heavy right now. And there's different aspects to that, because we were speaking on how he was talking about like how the panther in that realm, when we was there, or in which this realm, when I'm saying past life, this also kind of simultaneously exists now in essence. But like how the elders was more of a panther looking being, and you had some of them were more of jaguar looking being, like the different aspects to the cat people, but, and like too, how the saying, my brethren brought up like the saying, the scaredy cat, and how I was speaking of the, some of the beings who didn't stand on the front line and fight. Because like right now being in Venice, I feel the vibe of like all of us who don't care about being like, just point blank period, like all of us who don't care about being houseless right now, all of us who just like to hell with my ego. We just like living with that spirit and being and trying to help our brothers and sisters and wake up. That's if you are that person, and we are the beings that were on the front line in the past, fighting the same battle, and there's no knock to the brethren and sisters who, where they call it the flu of the ego and they kind of back out, or whatever, they call that fear. And you see that aspect personified within now, where you probably got a lot of beings too that apologize, and that's like, I'm sorry, or like, and you wondering like, what you apologizing for, what you so overly humble towards me for, and that's also, what is happening. A lot of beings that remember how they may have been, quote unquote traitors, for lack of a better word, in a past life, and coming back to like, like I apologize and I'm sorry, and I'm grateful for, just you'll catch that vibe a lot too. But we basically like moving into our parts, and also where we are that ancient Kemetic energy moving back in. A lot of us are these beings, personified, and some of us are embodied in one being. Some of us are spread throughout many beings, because I realized that Isis is coming back. I remember the Brethren Panic spoke on the conversion of the black Isis to white Isis, and he spoke that it wasn't a race thing, but more of an energetic thing. But I want to speak to that as well and say it's a little bit of both, because I've come across a lot of you know females with a white shell who claim, and I even say claim, but they embody that ISIS energy, and so much so, and that's how I know it's real, because they speak of black people as if they are one, you know, like bruh, my brethren and sister and all the children, and us coming back and this and that, and so, and that's how I could tell whether the energy is real, on that level. But like ISIS is coming back through white women too. That's a news flash, and not just that. And I'm saying white women. That's a shell. Don't forget this is spiritual warfare, and this is astronaut suits. You know what I'm saying? Because we also spoke on that. Where my brethren was laughing, where this astronaut suit. I spoke on how like the astronaut suit is an old suit. Or no, say for instance, as above, so below. The elders get the first pick of the litter, so to speak. So the older souls got the better physical, astronaut suit. The older souls got the stronger melanated suits that could handle being on Earth, and then the younger souls had to get the bodysuits that wasn't so sustainable, that can't handle the sunlight as well and things of this nature. That's how you got to look at it. It's not no human being. This is bodysuits, and the older souls. And matter of fact, and how the older souls had to pick of the litter on the bodysuit, and how the younger souls that created a little jealousy as well. Matter of fact, this video probably about to end, so I may turn it into two aspects or two videos. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna do that. So, happy now for this video close out, and I'm gonna finish on the last note. I'm gonna pick up on this note. You get what I'm saying? Cause the mushroom still kind of got me a little choppy with my linear logic side of the brain, quote unquote, which is no sides to the brain. But anyway, happy now, y'all, and I'm about to do the other video. So.